Hello, my name is Colton Shinaki. I'm a product manager at Beyond Identity, and today I'll be talking about our new Secure DevOps product, and I'll give a quick demo on it. So I'll start off with a brief overview of Beyond Identity. I'll talk about problems today with code signing, why we need to secure the developer, and then I'll provide the demo. So Beyond Identity provides the strongest authentication to SaaS apps, build environments, and infrastructure services. We provide high assurance of a person's identity by completely removing passwords from the authentication workflow and using cryptographic proof that the device requesting access is bound to a person's digital identity. With the Beyond Identity platform, organizations can eliminate passwords, positively verify user identities, confirm device trust, and enforce risk-based access controls. Organizations trust Beyond Identity to safely and securely authenticate users in hybrid work environments with increasingly cloud-centric services. Organizations turn to Beyond Identity to stop cyber attacks, protect their most critical data, and meet compliance requirements. Now I'll go into the problem we are solving here today. So the problem is, how do you know that a code change came from one of your corporate developers? Let me provide a brief overview of the developer workflow today. The developer makes a code change. That code change is pushed up to an organization's CI/CD pipeline. That pipeline does things like lint code, execute unit tests, integration tests, scan for vulnerabilities, and when all of the checks pass in the pipeline, a software artifact is produced and can now be distributed via an app store, downloads page, or FTP. Now, today when we talk about code signing, most organizations sign the produced artifact, what comes out of the CI/CD pipeline. And very rarely does an organization sign the code change that goes into the CI/CD pipeline. The problem with this model is that it's the organization is endorsing the artifact, is that it cannot confirm a submitted code change that went into the pipeline. It can't confirm that it was contributed from an authorized corporate identity. So today, most organizations inherently trust code changes that are submitted from the developer's domain. And the actual source code change, which is submitted to the pipeline, is rarely signed. And the reason for that is because the tools that live in the developer domain, like Git, were not built with enterprise security controls in mind and are very loosely tied to identity access controls. And because of that, it's very difficult to prove the provenance of code changes. For the few companies that do sign source code today, there are limited options. Either developers create their own personal keys, which aren't tied to a corporate identity, or the keys are centrally created and then distributed to developers to store themselves. Essentially, if you want to sign code changes, you have to build and manage your own PKI. So that's why we're excited to share our new Secure DevOps product that defends against supply chain attacks and shifts left to better secure the software development build process. Our solution tracks every code commit that is submitted to a CI/CD pipeline and ensures that only authorized corporate identities can submit code to the CI/CD pipeline. So let me provide an overview of our solution and then a demo. So we've built a few components that you can integrate into your developer workflow, and I'll talk about those now. The first component is the Beyond Identity Platform Authenticator, which is used to sign the Git commits inside of the developer's domain. The other component, and this is a module that can be imported into your CI/CD pipeline, it enforces that only code changes committed by a corporate identity can be merged into your pipeline. The module verifies each commit is signed by a corporate identity. Unsigned or unverified commit signatures will cause the CI/CD pipeline to reject the commit. Now let me go into the demo. Share the screen. Okay. So I have a Git repository that I'm using as an example. And in this repository, I have configured a few. Let me walk through what our pipeline looks like now. I've configured the CI/CD pipeline for this repository to always verify that that code was signed by the Beyond Identity authenticator. And I include that as the first step in the pipeline. And if the code wasn't signed by the authenticator, then we're going to reject it and none of the other steps in the pipeline will go through. So if I look at my repo and I go to one of my branches, I'm going to make a code commit without signing the commit. And I'll show you what happens in the pipeline. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to add more tomatoes to this recipe. Okay. Now I just pushed up this code change 11 seconds ago, and this is what I did. I added 5 tomatoes to the recipe. Now, the CI/CD pipeline will be kicked off because I submitted the code to the repo. And what I want to point out here is that I did not sign the code change, and therefore the pipeline will reject it. The Beyond Identity module will reject the code commit. So now I'm going to set up the Beyond Identity platform authenticator to sign my code commits so that the commit will be accepted into the pipeline. And it's pretty easy. This screen at the bottom left is the Beyond Identity platform authenticator. And what it really represents is sort of your corporate credential. I'm going to create a key for it. And this key is for GitHub. So now I've created a key, and this key is cryptographically tied to my corporate credential, and the private key is stored in the secure enclave. It can never leave the device. Now I'm going to copy my public key, and I'm going to paste it into my GitHub account. So now my key is in my GitHub account. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to configure my local Git repository to use the Beyond Identity authenticator to automatically sign my Git commits in the background. So I'm just going to find my repo, click configure, and I'm done. Developer setup is now complete. So a developer can do their normal workflow without having to worry about any other configuration. I'm going to make another change. I'm going to add more tomatoes. I'm making a commit. Now I'm going to push that commit up to the CI/CD pipeline. I'm going to go back to the repository. I'm going to go to my branch, add tomatoes. The pipeline for this code change is now running. And the signature on the code change was verified, and the rest of the steps will take place now in the CI/CD pipeline. So what we've shown here today is that it's a very seamless experience for the end user. And that's the demo.